All right, guys, how's everyone doing? I need a resounding good. Okay. Very good. It's a beautiful day out. Welcome to our 4th annual Graduation Gala. Does time fly by for you guys sometimes? So we're Chicago EMT training for now 4 years. It's pretty wild. There was a point in time when we were still called UIC EMS. And there was a time when that kind of gave me the ick. But now, you guys don't know, but our fall class is going to start rotating at UIC again. They've embraced us. Shout out Joyce. So for those that don't know, my name is Victor Chan. I am co-owner and I guess instructor. Sometimes I feel like the janitor, but I do everything, almost everything at Chicago EMT Training. It is co-owned by our fearless leader, Martin Walsh, who will be coming up here shortly. Many of you wonder if Marty Walsh is real. Marty is indeed real. I say that because Marty teaches these online lectures, and you're like, am I ever going to meet Marty? Yes, today's the day, all right? So also for those that don't know, the way we run things is we have our fall class, our spring class, and our summer class. And at our career fairs that we go to, many people guess when I ask them, how long do you think it takes to become an EMT? And if you're a student or a graduate, don't answer. But for those in the crowd, can you shout out a couple numbers? Like how many months or years do you think it takes to become an EMT? Forever? 100 years? Realistically, like the answers that I usually get are around a year, 2 years, sometimes 4 years. And then they're a little surprised when I tell them 20 weeks, sometimes 13 weeks if you're in our summer class. And there are programs out there that'll run students through 8-week courses. For those that are graduating, do you think you could have done that? Monday through Friday, 8 hours a day, EMT, just drinking from a fire hydrant? Maybe, some of you could. It works for some people's schedule. So our fall and spring class is 20 weeks long, summer is 13, and half of it is online. That's where you get to learn and meet Marty, and then the other half is in person. Many of you have shared that I'm a hands-on learner. I suck at taking exams. And I think by the end of this process, all of you have learned that test taking is a skill, and it's not something that none of us are born with. And I hope you took away some of those skills on top of everything else, like managing your time, taking care of yourselves through this process, all right? Raise your hand. I just want everyone else in the room to know where you're coming from. Raise your hand if you are in our fall class. Hi, so everyone can see. Because usually, and I'm so happy you guys are here, because usually we're coming up on a year since we've seen you guys, right? It's been a year almost. You guys are probably on your first, if not second, jobs as EMTs. And so you're probably here because either you had a great time with your peers or you had a great time with our instructors, all right? And you just wanted to come back one last time, if not to work for us one day, right? I don't know why I'm looking at LT. LT, you crushed the class, all right? And then raise your hand if you're coming from the spring class. Oh, a little bit more, okay. And then what about the summer class? Oh, look at that. Wow. And raise your hand if you would do it again. Well, like many of you, Marty and I were on the pre-med track at UIC, and I wouldn't be where I am without Marty, personally and professionally. And as undergrads, we were navigating the pre-med circuit. We were, I think, biology majors and math minors, and I think Marty got a history minor as well. And he became an EMT. He left Home Depot and became an EMT. And he told me about all the interesting experiences that he could get as a healthcare provider. And I followed suit. And through that, he also then took it to the next level and became a paramedic. And so through that process, working on an ambulance and in your free time, juggling 15 to 18 college credits was very appealing to me. Because like many of you, by the time you have to make that decision of, is med school what I want to do? Is PA school what I want to do? Nursing school, firefighting, paramedic school? The experience that you're going to gain either on an ambulance or in an ER or at an event for Lollapalooza or Beyonce, that's going to help you make that decision of, is this right for me, right? And it may or may not be. Most of you are here today because you realize that this is the path for you. There are, for some people, realizations that this might not be for them. But I still commend them because they wouldn't have found out had they not tried, okay? And through that process, I also became a paramedic. And then, not to speak too much for Marty, but I definitely fell ass backwards into teaching. I did not envision myself to be a teacher one day. And there was a point when I actually wanted to give it up. And I was seeking ways to change and pivot industries. I didn't even think about this, Victoria, but coincidentally, I was trying wedding photography. And our photographer is here tonight. Like, she's my mentor in wedding photography, right? And then I tried it and I realized it might not be for me, right? And here we are. So these days, I'm doing less and less teaching. For everyone else in the room, I've shared this with our graduates, I haven't been on an ambulance since 2018. And there was a point where I felt like a huge imposter, teaching something I'm no longer a part of. And so these days, I heavily rely on our, what feels like 45 instructors on our staff. And they do a tremendous job at carrying the torch. And these days, I just facilitate. I ensure a positive, an overwhelmingly positive experience for you and for our instructors. I need to create an environment where our instructors want to come back, where you guys want to come back as instructors. And I'm very proud. I think we're hitting that. Like, every year it gets better, right? So without further ado, I'd like to bring up Marty to share a few words.
Look how handsomely dressed Victor is. Victor Chan. So I would be remiss if I didn't start off by telling everyone that I have nothing to do with this event. It is true, a business I co-own helped pay for this event, but Victor Chan put this all together. So let's give Victor a round of applause. And where I'm often allowed to be in the comfort of my own home to teach with my little rugrats running around screaming in the background, as you guys have come to know, we have Victor, who's in the office all the time, like you said, cleaning things up, making sure we have paper towels, medical equipment, making sure everybody has snacks. So I want to give Victor a round of applause again for his dedication to Chicago EMT training. And I want to give Victor some more kudos. We used to do this through the University of Illinois at Chicago. And we don't hide that we weren't very happy there. We had these grand ideas that are being realized now for what we wanted to do with the program. But where we wanted to expand, grow, enhance the program, they didn't share that vision. And we were sitting there and we were like, this is just the way it's going to be. We're going to run a smaller program. But Victor's like, no, we're not doing that. He's like, we're going to leave and start our own thing. And I was scared. I liked security. I liked comfort. I liked, my 9-to-5 guaranteed paycheck. Victor is brave. Victor had a vision. And where, I'm the EMS guy. I'm the guy that, loves the content. I'm the guy that's still on the ambulance. Victor is the dreamer. He's the visionary. So he calls me the leader, but that's our leader right there. So round of applause again for Victor. So much like, a lot of you here, you decided to go to EMT school because you wanted some introduction into healthcare. Maybe you saw yourself one day being a physician, a nurse, a firefighter, a paramedic, but for a lot of you it started here. For some of you, I get it didn't, but for a lot of you it did. And for myself, I started with EMT, like all of you did. And I kind of thought, I'm going to work on an ambulance for a few years, and then I'm going to go to medical school, and that's what I want to do. But truth is, I wasn't going to medical school, first of all, and I loved EMS. And the reason why I like EMS so much is one phrase that I shared with all of you, and one kind of point of view that I've shared with all of you in the class is that we're not always, fixing a problem, right? We're not always, we say we're not definitive care, right? We're not curing all these ailments. We're not performing surgery in the back of the ambulance. But we're responding to someone on quite potentially their very worst day. And we are assessing them and taking care of them, but we're also chaperoning them through a very difficult time. And I think that's where the strength of an EMT really lies. Yes, your knowledge, your ability to assess and select treatments, but also your humanity. It's extremely important to care. It's extremely important to never be indifferent. And there will be times in your career where you're tired, you're, maybe borderline jaded, you're getting a little burned out. But I always want you to remember, that original bell toll that made you guys come to this field. Remember that is what's still motivating you to be here. And to continue to always want to do better and great things for your patients. You're entering a field that desperately needs you. It used to be that, EMTs were a dime a dozen, paramedics were maybe 12 cents a dozen, and, there were tons of us around. There's a nationwide shortage of EMS professionals. Not just EMS professionals, healthcare professionals. It's not a job people want to do anymore. But you all are motivated by something intrinsic. There's something inside you that makes you and motivates you to want to help others, to make this world that seems bleaker and bleaker every day a little bit better. And there's, in my, from all the students that I've taught over the years, there's people that I've kept in contact with, I've remained friends with, but there's one person that I want to introduce now who has really, I think, fulfilled that, want to make a world a better place. From being a new physician, to being a paramedic, to being an EMT before that, to running an AHA business, to standing up for marginalized communities, to really believing in that this world needs a little more justice. And that person is Dr. Mohammad Abuakar.
So August 8th, 2002, my little brother's heart stopped just a few hours after he was born at Advocate Christ Medical Center in Oak Lawn, Illinois. I was only 8 years old at the time when my dad called us to let us know that things were not going as well as we had hoped. A day that was supposed to be full of joy and excitement became full of fear, uncertainty, and sorrows. Instead of preparing for him to come home, we were preparing for a funeral. They warned us that although they were able to restart his heart, he would likely be completely brain dead. My mom sat there next to him as machines kept him alive, holding his hand every single day, just hoping that he would wake up. But for 17 days, he remained lifeless in an incubator. Spending countless of hours in the hospital, I got really intrigued by the machines, by the doctors, and by the work that was being done to save his life. At 8 years old, I decided that I wanted to be a doctor just like them. So for those of you who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, I'm Dr. Mohammad Abuakar. I'm an emergency medicine resident physician, a former critical care paramedic, a graduate of this very program back under UIC EMS with Marty in 2014, and an instructor with Chicago EMT. I want to welcome you all to this momentous occasion. It's such a beautiful day that's filled with joy, excitement, and accomplishments. And with that, I would love to share my story from EMT to doctor. So immediately upon starting my undergrad at the University of Illinois at Chicago, I enrolled in my pre-med classes alongside my finance classes. During my freshman year, at the time, one of my best friends was like, hey, you should become an EMT. It'll be a great way to build your resume for medical school. I said, wait, I can just work on an ambulance as a freshman, sophomore in college? Yeah, sign me up, let's do it. So I took the EMT class and I instantly fell in love. I began working under Marty on the UIC EMS ambulance, started teaching with the EMT class, became a CPR instructor, and suddenly becoming an EMT was no longer a resume builder, it was now my calling. So I worked multiple facets of EMS. I was an EMT on the ambulance, on the private ambulance with Elite. I worked special events with Event Medical Solutions. I was an ER tech at Little Company of Mary and an immediate care tech at Northwestern Medicine. Before I knew it, I was leading my own preventative medical team at large music festivals across the country with National Event Services. So after undergrad, I knew that this is what I wanted to do. I decided to pursue paramedic school at Malcolm X College and did my internship with the Chicago Fire Department. After becoming licensed, I was hired on with Wheaton Fire, and I remember during orientation, I went on a call with the mobile stroke unit, this super cool ambulance, and I'll never forget it. The ambulance had some of the most highly specialized and trained paramedics that I've ever seen in the field. They had a full CT scanner in the back of their rig and the capability to handle the sickest patients. I wanted in on that rig. So I asked them, how do I get in on that rig? They said, you have to become critical care. So I went ahead, did a critical care course, and a few months later, I started working on the MSU. I felt unstoppable. I had 5 awards for my patient care, saving lives, making split-second decisions, living my dream, yet I didn't feel fulfilled. I knew that I needed to continue, and I knew that I needed to become a doctor. So I applied to medical school, got in, moved to Idaho, and my journey of becoming a doctor began. I quickly became involved with the emergency medicine club on campus and was elected as the president at the end of my first year. My background definitely shined through with all the events that I did. For example, one of the events is I developed, organized, and executed the largest simulation in our school's history, a multi-organization mass casualty training scenario which included over 200 people. This MCI has now become an annual event and becomes bigger and badder every year. Through my work, I was reelected as the president the next year, then took my passion to the national stage, where I served with the Emergency Medicine Residents Association. I was elected as the vice chair of the Pre-Hospital and Disaster Medicine Committee, and I was honored to receive multiple awards for my leadership, including the National Emergency Medicine Student Doctor of the Year, the Student Leader of the Year, the Outstanding Leadership Award, and most notably, the President's Award during my graduation. Eventually, I matched up my top choice for residency and moved back home to fulfill my dream of becoming a doctor at the hospital I was born that saved my brother's life and the reason I'm here today. But over the last several minutes, I told you about my accomplishments, and I told you about all the great things that I've done. But what I didn't tell you was all of the failures that came along with that. You see, the reason why I pursued paramedic school to begin with is because I didn't get accepted into medical school. The reason why I moved to Idaho was because on my second round of applications, I didn't secure a spot in Chicago. And despite all of my awards for patient excellence, I failed to treat a patient correctly one night, and that decision will haunt me for years to come. We were dispatched out to a sick person. We found the house on the corner of a cul-de-sac, dimly lit by one flickering light in the corner. 2 men come running at the ambulance. They tell us to get inside the house. At this point, the scene is not safe. But I couldn't flee the scene, so I hit the emergency button on my radio, and they escort us into the house. As I get inside, there I found a woman, fully naked on the ground, propped up against the bed, unresponsive, with a large fan eerily oscillating back and forth, blowing cold air on her. I realized these men were not here to harm me. They just wanted us to help their mother. I got to work and I found this woman's heart rate to be in the 220s. I knew I needed to fix it. 1 shock, 2 shocks, 3 shocks, no response. Her heart kept racing away, and we transported her to the hospital for further care. We walked away feeling like we did our best. We did what we can do. And now it's in the hands of the other doctors. A few days later, I was called into my medical director's office. He asked me to walk him through that call. He sat back in his chair and said, "What do you think was going on with this patient?" I was like, "Well, she was an unstable SVT. I had to fix it." He kind of paused, and he looks at me, and he said, "If she was an unstable SVT, do you think her blood pressure would be high or low?" I froze, because I remember that her blood pressure was high, but if she was an unstable SVT, it should have been low. There was a second of silence. He said, "Did you look at her pupils?" I realized I didn't. It hit me in that moment. She wasn't having a heart problem. Instead, she had a massive head bleed, something that was causing her arrhythmia. But then came the second blow, because he pulled the monitor data and showed that the first time I cardioverted her, but time number 2 and 3, I defibrillated. A simple push of a button that can make the difference between fixing someone's heart or completely stopping it and potentially killing them. I immediately began to cry. I felt like I failed this woman and her family. He reassured me that this woman's brain bleed was so bad that nothing I could have done would have changed the outcome. She was going to die no matter what happened, but I felt responsible. The truth is, I did fail many times. I failed at getting into medical school my first time. I failed at staying in Chicago the second time. I failed my patient's family who entrusted me with her life. And yet every one of those failures have led me to stand here in front of you all today. My failures have led me into a position where I found my passion for pre-hospital critical care, to a school that opened up so many doors and opportunities for me, and to my desire to learn medicine on a deeper level so that I can be the best clinician for my patients. Each of you have your own story. I want you to consider the failures that brought you to your success. Many of you here felt the pressure of failing an exam or practical. Some of you even more than once. What I want to say to each of you is look around you, because your failures have brought you success. Graduates, you are here today because of your success, but your success will not determine who you will become. Instead, it's how you will handle the failures that lie ahead of you. This is a career full of uncertainty. Always remember your story, your why, and your failures as you touch the lives of countless others from here on out. You will be the first person that someone sees on their worst day. You will bring calm to chaos. You will see things that most people cannot even begin to imagine. You will be holding someone's hand through their last moments. And you may even be the reason why a grandfather lives to see another day where his granddaughter is able to walk down the aisle. Each of these moments will mold you. Many people will not understand what you go through. But know that from this day forward, that you will be part of a family that spans cities, states, and generations. When you put on your uniform, you will stand with every EMT that has come before you and every EMT that will follow. You will never be alone in your failures, and you will always be there with a joyful community supporting and uplifting your success. On August 26, 2002, the 18th day of my brother's journey, his failing body suddenly came to life. He opened his eyes for the first time, once lifeless in an incubator, now 23 years old, and an absolute lover of everything technology and cars. His failure was his biggest success. And as you walk the stage today, celebrate the failures that have led you to this success. Own it, because failure means success is right around the corner. And who knows, maybe one day you'll look back, just as I have, and realize what felt like your biggest failures was actually the beginning of your greatest success. Thank you, and congratulations to the class of 2025.
Thank you so much, Mo. That was beautiful. Many of you that started this program Raise your hand if you would consider yourself an adrenaline junkie. Sorry, I meant to say I lost my voice, but raise it high. Adrenaline junkie, right? And so when you walk through the doors, your expectations of some of your experiences in this class, especially your clinical rotations, could have been lights and sirens. But that's largely due to our now relationship with Chicago Fire Department, right? That's a very new thing for us. And with that being said, I want you guys to hear from Assistant Deputy Fire Commissioner Juan Hernandez.
My first time here, so thank you for this invite. I had no idea, absolutely no idea how big you guys have gotten. Go ahead. Good afternoon, everyone. As Victor mentioned, my name is Juan Hernandez. I'm the Assistant Deputy Fire Commissioner of EMS. I've been in that commission for about 4 years.
We stand in a unique moment in EMS. Across the nation, our field continues to evolve. Believe it or not, we're a pretty young profession. The demands on pre-hospital providers are greater than ever. Communities don't just rely on us for transport. They count on us for critical care in the field, for leadership during crisis, and for compassion at the bedside. With these challenges comes opportunities. The chance to shape the future of EMS and healthcare itself. And you, the newest graduating EMTs, will be the ones to do that, as has already been heard by Dr. Mohammad. Let me be clear, this graduation is not the finish line. This is only the foundation. You have completed your EMT education, and no one, and I mean no one, can ever take those skills away from you. It is yours, earned through long nights of study, countless hours of training, and the determination to see it through. It is the pace upon which you can build anything. Prime example, Dr. Mohammad, Mr. Chan, Mr. Walsh. Some of you will go on to become paramedics, firefighters, advance in your ability to deliver life-saving interventions in the field. Some of you will move into nursing, carrying your EMS roots into hospitals and clinics. Others will chart a course towards becoming physician's assistants and physicians, bringing with you a deep understanding of pre-hospital medicine that few, and I believe you me, I've been in this field for a long time, few in healthcare can ever experience. So the doors are wide open, and they are open because you laid the foundation here today. Now, when I was standing at one of the tables, some of you came up to me and you said, well, you know, I asked them, are you ready and prepared to join the fire department? Well, they said, I'm just an EMT. You're not just an EMT. Let me tell you the importance of EMT basics. I want to emphasize something that sometimes gets overlooked, the importance of EMTs. You are the force multipliers in pre-hospital care. You are often the first on scene at an active threat, the first to stop the bleeding. You are the ones who paramedics, nurses, and doctors rely on to deliver effective and efficient CPR during a cardiac arrest. You are the ones we count on to perform triage during mass casualty incidents, making critical decisions that save lives. I don't say this as an empty encouragement. I say this because I've lived it. So let me tell you a little bit about my journey, and it's just a little bit of that. I started my career as an EMT years ago. For 11 years, I wore that title proudly before advancing further into pre-hospital care. My exposure came in the United States Army, where I served as a combat medic. That was my introduction to EMS. After my service, I carried my EMT certification with me because I was nationally registered, just like some of you are. I was able to apply for reciprocity and became a licensed EMT in Illinois. While I was pursuing, like many of you, pre-med and eventually switched over to nursing at UIC, so it is my alma mater, I discovered the paramedic program across the street at Malcolm X. Not long after, I learned about the Chicago Fire Department, and the rest is history. It wasn't easy, but through determination, persistence, and resilience, I built my career. And so now I'm going to be speaking to you about resilience, another story that is near and dear to my heart. I want to share a story that reminds us of both the challenges and the courage of this profession. Not long ago, while in my current position, I heard a call come over the radio, a frantic voice requesting a 10-1. And those of you who wrote on the fire department, you know what a 10-1 is. A 10-1 is an emergency signal, meaning a responder was in critical distress and needed immediate help. The report was that 2 paramedics and an EMT rider had been assaulted during a response. I can tell you my heart sank. When one of our own is hurt, it hits a little different. I rushed to make inquiries and eventually responded to the hospital. The EMT who had been assaulted with a knife was one of the scariest moments in my career. But here's the part that stayed with me. When I arrived at the hospital, that same EMT, who had every reason to be shaken and basically say, "That's it, I'm done," looked me in the eye and told me he was more determined than ever to continue his pre-hospital education. That resilience, that courage, that is the spirit of EMS. What does this mean for you? I share these stories because I want you to remember EMS is more than skills, more than protocols. It's about resilience. It's about teamwork. It's about adapting in the face of the unexpected. The lessons you carry forward about focus under pressure, about empathy for your patients, about never giving up will serve you no matter where your career leads. Right now, EMS is at a crossroads. Across the country, there is a paramedic shortage. Communities rely on EMTs more than ever, not just to treat trauma and cardiac arrest, but care for the sick, the vulnerable, and the people who have nowhere else to turn. You will be asked to do more with less. You will face challenges of staffing shortages, increases in call volumes, and sometimes not enough resources. That's the world we live in right now. But you will also see opportunities to lead, to innovate, to transform this field for the better. So to all the graduates, look at what you have accomplished. You have chosen a path that is not easy, but it is honorable. From this day forward, you carry a responsibility to your patients, to your communities, to your fellow EMTs, paramedics, nurses, doctors, who will stand beside you. This isn't just a job. It's a calling. And the world needs you now more than ever. As you receive your certificates today, don't think of it as crossing the finish line. Think of it as the beginning. You are the future of EMS. You are the future of healthcare. Congratulations. Wear your badge, and as someone mentioned, your uniforms proudly. Serve with courage, and never forget why you started this journey, to make a difference when it matters most. Thank you.
Okay, let's get the ceremony started. A word on sacrifices, all right? Many of you shared that in your, when you purchased your graduation gala tickets. Raise your hand if you gave up valuable time with your loved ones. Raise your hand if you gave up sleep. I hope you caught up on sleep. Raise your hand if you had to miss out on a loved one's funeral. Yeah, a few of you. Raise your hand if you had personal challenges throughout the course. Yeah, everyone, right? Can we take a moment to thank our support system? So your partners and your parents, your children sometimes, right? I know your parents are driving you to class, right? And I know some of your commutes were hour long, hour and a half long. You know, throughout the many years of doing this, I've learned that some students do not have the support system that some of us are lucky to have. Like, and this is just from people that were sharing. Like, I'd be in the middle of office hours. Someone is redoing their practical. They were doing so bad that I had to stop them. And I asked them, can you tell me what's going on? Because you're not going to pass on your second try. And then they said, like, they started breaking down, and that since day one, they've been battling homelessness. Which reminds me of another student who couldn't spend the time to study because she was picking up 2 to 3 jobs, opening up a Starbucks cafe, coming to class, and then going to do another job. Because she was trying to make enough money to pay for a hotel room to get away from her abusive mom. Okay? So I guess be grateful if we have a support system, and that know that we didn't do this alone. Okay? All right, so thank you for being here. Please enjoy the night. It's just the beginning.